Hello everybody, it's Stephen Englander again with the latest edition of Between the Spreadsheets. An honour to have with me today is Richie Alllen. Richie's been a broadcaster for many years and has got many shows on the go with tens of thousands of people watching him, and he's come on today to tell us all about his experiences in business. How are you today, Richie?
I'm very well, Stephen. Thanks for asking me to join you on the show. And I think it's an excellent show, by the way. It's really good, really innovative. I haven't seen your earlier episodes yet, but what I mean by excellent show is the idea is excellent and very innovative.
Yeah.
These are strange times. So it's good to be talking about business now, I think.
Yes, no, it is. And it's a big learning curve for me because I've now got an experienced broadcaster interviewer, and I have watched some of your shows, and I've learned lots from them, even though you're shouting at everybody. How things have been since lockdown? How have you been finding things?
It's funny for a sole trader, I suppose, like myself, who broadcasts from a purpose-built studio at home. The truth is, very little changed from a business point of view, Stephen. Things carried on as normal. I suppose staying on the business side of things, on the business line, I would be hearing from other content creators, other independent operators who run online podcasts or who do online radio and TV, that it's changed things from the perspective of advertising, of revenue. So for many people, I suppose from that point of view, it's been difficult. But from an operational point of view, it's just really been kind of same old. I tend to spend most of my time in the studio at home and in the office at home. So, but other than that,
Well, I'm finding this a lot. I'm finding this a lot with businesses in general. And to me, without commenting on the COVID situation, we're sort of going in the direction that the horse was running anyway. And I think I've said this a few times, that businesses way before COVID are moving online. And I've been telling clients for several years now to get their house in order and start getting up their delivery systems moving, getting their software, their communication systems moving, and we'll ride out this storm. But I don't believe the storm is COVID. I think that's pushed things, made it happen much quicker than it would be. So, but I guess you're totally online.
That's a good point you make there. It's a good point you make there. A lot of businesses that might be in trouble now and might be in dire straits when the furlough scheme ends. Many of these businesses pre-COVID were undoubtedly teetering anyway, or markets were changing, and maybe many businesses weren't moving in the direction they could have been moving in prior to that. So I absolutely agree with you. From our point of view, it's funny you talk about seeing, you recommending to people to see what was coming 4 or 5 years ago and to move with the times. I think as a broadcaster, I certainly saw that several years ago when I left mainstream broadcasting, partly because there were things I wanted to express personally, but there were also subject matters that I wanted to explore, and I couldn't do that commercially. So one of the things I saw coming was, I'm certainly no visionary now, but I did see that there would be a time when people, as in consumers of media, and we're all consumers of media, I saw it coming that we would move away from linear schedules, from the time when you'd have been saying to your wife, or your wife would have been saying to you, or my girlfriend would have been saying to me, "Hey Richie, make sure you're home at 7 o'clock now, Murder, She Wrote is on, or The Sopranos." We exist in a world now where people, I mean, I still do my radio show live every day. That's because I'm an old dog and I enjoy doing that, and I enjoy the audience interaction. But I know full well, Stephen, that the vast majority of my listeners, they want to hear the show whenever they feel like it. That could be in the shower at 7 o'clock tomorrow morning. It could be in the car. We're in the era of on demand. And I saw that coming. And I knew that was coming. It was one of the reasons why I moved into independent broadcasting. I knew eventually that live and those schedules, those regimented schedules, would become a thing of the past, and that broadcasters would have to understand that and move with that and monetize that, or they'd fall by the wayside.
Yeah, because I don't think a lot of people don't always look at broadcasters and say that's a business.
Yeah,
strong business fundamentals behind that. We still have to monetize. We still have to make a living. We still have bills to pay, and a lot of people sort of don't realise that. And this is what's interesting about having someone like yourself on, because you can show people, yes, this is a business. I mean, I think you many years ago you actually ran a pub, didn't you?
Well, I did. Well, my better half did.
Yeah.
And I helped out really, but it was her. But I learned a lot there, Stephen, and amazing. And it might sound like a cliche. I learned some skills there and habits that definitely benefited me when I moved into being, the independent broadcaster that I am now. You're not to dare ask me what did I learn, because I throwing unruly guests out of the studio maybe.
Yeah.
No, but yeah, I definitely picked up some tips. The discipline, I think, discipline around money and around managing money and managing the books of the business. Well, managing the books. There's a company called Accounts Direct that manages my books, of course. But I did learn a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. No. It is important to manage the funds, and I think it's a very, very big failing of people when they're in business, because they get caught up in the general everyday problems they have in work and forget there is a balancing to be done. But there's other things as well that tarnish a business, and I think you touched on it a minute ago about throwing people out.
Yeah.
The wrong people around you, whether it's the wrong customers or the wrong guests, can actually cause lots of problems. And I think you've suffered a bit from that, having the wrong people.
No doubt, yeah. I mean, I've known you years now, and you've known, I suppose, about me that I've never been the greatest fan of the state of Israel, and I don't make any secret of that.
Yeah.
I certainly don't single Israel out. I see my own country, the Republic of Ireland, I see the UK as equally bad actors on the international stage, but I've always had a soft spot for the Palestinians. But over the years, I was blessed with people like David Rubin from Tel Aviv, who would be, a very right-wing Zionist, and people like that coming on the show to argue with me and put the other side of it to me and say to me, look, there's two sides, Richie. And I've always tried to do that. But in recent years, yeah, we've seen a kind of a movement away from the old school way of presenting programs where you might have a very strong opinion yourself as a broadcaster, but you would be as objective as you could, and you would always bring the other side on. We're moving into this era of identity politics. I know Hayden talks about this, Hayden Hewitt. I know you've had discussions with him about it. And you talked about being tarnished. I would have had some people on my program over the years who would have had some fairly ridiculous positions on things. I've interviewed people like David Duke. Now, David Duke is an idiot. He's a human being, but he's an idiot. If somebody trips over a banana skin and falls and hurts their head, David Duke will blame the Jews, or you blame blacks. We live amongst these people. But traditionally, I would have interviewed people like that, and I would have give them a proper chasing because I disagree with them. Yeah. I have had Holocaust deniers on. I don't go looking for them. I've had one or two on over the years, and I've argued with them because it's ridiculous. Yeah. I've had a go with them. But yeah, I don't feel hard done by in any way. I've got very thick skin, but it's disappointing sometimes to see in a national newspaper that your show should be avoided. Not because I would personally be a hateful, bigoted type person, but because some of the people I interviewed might be. And that's a bit spooky, that. And I've had to obviously contend with that over the years and kind of work around it as best as I possibly could. I mean, I would reach out sometimes to an interviewee, a prospective one, and they would say, Richie, I was reading on Wikipedia, what have you got against the Jews? I'd be like, nothing, I swear to God. No, I wouldn't even say, listen, my accountant is Jewish and I like him. I wouldn't say that because why should I? Why should I say that? Why? Because then you're playing that game. Then really, you're apologizing. yeah, that's right. This is right. So we've seen a bit of that come in, but it wouldn't just be that Israeli-Palestinian issue. It would be other issues. I mean, I would have people on sometimes, Stephen, who they would have opinions around healthcare that some people find worrying. But those people they're not just people off the street. Those people are people with letters after their name. They're academics and they are doctors. I've always been a contrary, argumentative, curmudgeonly type.
Yeah, but it's your
Am I?
style. It's your
Yes, my
product, isn't
style
it?
and my show reflects that. I want to hear from people
Yeah,
that you don't often get to hear from. I trust the public to make their own minds up.
yeah,
I trust that when I bring David Duke onto my radio, now I don't bring him on, by the way. I brought him on one time 4 years ago.
yeah,
My audience is clever. They know that he's a moron. So
yeah,
you might say, well, why bring him on? Well, he was making a comeback and I
yeah,
wanted to challenge some of his ridiculous positions.
yeah. But that's
You
it with,
know?
with business in general.
Yeah.
You're out to make a name. You want people to buy your product. I mean, I've known you for a few years now, Richie, and we've had a few nice, interesting chats where I've learned lots of things.
Yeah, we have. Yeah, yeah.
But I've never found you racist or rude or bigoted in any way at all.
No, I
I'm
must be some
surprised
actor
at
if
it.
I am, Stephen. I
Yeah,
mean,
well,
yeah, I
yeah,
must be some actor. I was speaking to a mate. Funny enough, somebody's coming on the show this week, somebody who's well known, and they were told not to. And then they read the Wikipedia page. But then they went to iTunes and they spent hours listening to episodes going back years. And they came back and said, I can't find where you've, got these opinions. Because usually when I interview I'm an old trade unionist. You can spit at the camera now if you want, Stephen, if you want. I'm an old socialist. So, of course, I all my life I would be anti-bigotry and
yeah,
against anti-Semitism, against racism, of course. But I'm very much pro free speech. We have to live amongst people who have got opinions that
yeah.
are
No, I agree.
scary. Or not scary, sorry, that we would find repugnant.
Yeah, no, I agree. But I live in a world full of small business people.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Small business people, they're just normal people, but you don't see a lot of racism or bigotry within that community. You know why?
No.
Because they're chasing money. They're
Chasing money, yeah, absolutely.
they're
The
not
bottom
interested
line.
whether it comes from a Jewish person or a
No.
Pakistani person or a Muslim or anything.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. It's money's money, and I mean, I get every I mean, there's a few Jewish festivals, and every year without fail, I get more greetings, more cards, more well wishes from some of my Muslim clients and friends
Right, yeah,
than
yeah,
I do from Jewish people.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
I just think the thing that brings people together is business. And I think there's some 17th century philosophers that have come out with that bring everyone together by trade. And
Absolutely.
I've always been a believer in that. And so your show, in a way, it's just a product, isn't it, Richie? So
It is, Stephen. That's a very good. It's a product. What is the business model is very interesting. For anybody who might be listening to this now, who might think, I can talk, I can interview, I've got some talent, I want to do it. Here's my business model, and it's very straightforward. There are two ways of going when you do what I do. One is you put it behind a paywall, or two, you invite your watching or listening audience to make a regular contribution. Now, some people say donation. I spit on donation. I'm not a charity. I work 16 hours a day, 6 days a week to do what I do. And I do it well, and I'm proud of it. It's you put it alongside any radio show in the country, and it stands up in terms of the production values and in terms of the quality of the caliber of people coming on. So it isn't a charity, so it's not donation. It's support. And when I started this, when I started out down this road, I thought long and hard about it. Do I do the paywall road? Do I do the let the listener support it as and when they can model?
yeah,
And everybody I spoke to, everyone whom I spoke with who had succeeded, they all said, don't put it behind a paywall, Richie. The audience will support it if they enjoy it.
yes,
Not out of fear, but out of concern that it stays, that it carries on. They'll want it to carry on, and they'll want you to carry on. And what I did was I set up, and it's all above board, it's all transparent. I set up a bank account and I set up a PayPal account, and I said to my audience, I will do the equivalent of a commercial radio talk show 5 days a week, but I will do it on my own. I won't have a producer. I won't have an editor, which most of them would. But I can't do it because of the overheads unless you weigh in. And since day one, they've weighed in. And
have.
that's a very simplistic business model. You probably find it ridiculous.
No, well, I
Maybe
know
it's your big business brain on you.
because to me, it's like you've got tens of thousands beyond people.
Yeah.
And if you've got a small fraction of them paying a subscription, but you've never you've never liked that model.
I've never liked it. And listen, again, I'm going to sound like an old trade unionist, but I mean this from the bottom of my heart. I know that there are people who want to hear it. They want to hear an alternative. They don't want to hear. I mean, I spend very little time on, for example, the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. I spend very little time on the British Empire, on India. I cover everything, healthcare, everything.
Yeah.
And because I present the alternative, there's an appetite for it. And it's necessary, I think. And I know that there are people who would love to hear it. And these are bad times for a lot of people, and they don't have anything. So again, the business model is let everybody listen to it when they want to. And those that can afford to will cover those that can't. And you're quite right. There are a lot of listeners, but of course they don't all contribute. If they did, I wouldn't be talking to you from Salford. I'd be in Cheshire, Stephen. I'd be thumbing my nose at you. I'd be in, yeah.
Yeah, you're very well thought of in the industry as well. And something that I try and get over to people, I've given a couple of talks on it, is purpose. So if you've got a purpose, you can do anything. You can fall over, get up. You can command armies of people. Get people behind that purpose. And so many people in business, their only purpose is to get through the day and pay the bills. But if you have a greater purpose, now you are definitely someone that has a greater purpose. You have a definite message. You have a definite reason to get out of bed every day.
Yeah.
And I see the amount of hours you work. I've seen you come in sometimes, and you're absolutely shattered. But you keep going. You just, because behind you, it's more important. You're a true artist. You have true purpose. And if a lot more people had purpose like this in their businesses, nothing would be stopping them.
That's a really interesting thing, that, isn't it?
Mm.
If more people had, I mean, I know you won't be sentimental, because I know business isn't ultimately sentimental. I suppose it can be, but yeah, purpose. And I mean, and love for it as well. I love doing it.
Yes.
I love hearing from people. Again, that would have something that might be profound. It might not be. They might be right. They might be wrong.
Yeah.
But they have a qualification, and for some reason or another, and I let the audience make their own mind up, for some reason or another, they don't get on the BBC. Forget about, I don't want to talk about, listen, it's your bag. You talk about whatever you want. I won't.
Anytime.
Yeah, I won't get into COVID. I won't get into COVID theories, but COVID is a great example.
Yeah.
You know, I would have had a doctor from Dublin, a very well-known GP, would have been on my show a lot recently. Vernon Coleman, who you'd know, Dr. Vernon, would have been on my show recently. Carl Hennigan, Oxford professor, might very well be on the show this week, because those guys are saying things that that is challenging the government's account of what COVID is. And most of the time, these guys can't get on the TV to express it. So that's where I come in. And that's what I love doing more than anything. Now, I don't just sit there and nod along. I will argue with them. I will do the job that, should be done by Sky or Channel 4 if they get on. But that's really it. That's what motivates me. Find people who have got a qualification. Like I said, you could just bring anybody off the street, but that's not good radio. I can find a woman across the road tomorrow who thinks that, the Queen is a lizard. Yeah, but that's no good. My audience won't listen to that.
Is she not a lizard?
Well, I'm not sure. I don't think so, to be honest, personally.
Your pals to think they are, don't they?
Some of my old mates still believe, David, God bless David, still believes the Queen's a lizard. But now, isn't it funny? But if somebody from Georgetown University, it's not the case, but if somebody from Georgetown started saying, I think there's a overlord race of reptilians, well, then you'd have to interview that person, wouldn't you?
Well, you would.
The BBC wouldn't, would you?
We'd need them circumcised for them to get anywhere.
This is it,
beaches in Israel are really nice. Have you been to Israel?
I've never been to Israel, and I'm saddened by the thought that if I wanted to travel there, that I mightn't be welcome. Because, listen, I don't pretend to be objective when it comes to Israel. You've got to be honest going through life. And I think your great friend and colleague, Hayden Hewitt, would say a lot of things about me. But I know what he would say is that I am as honest as the day is long. What I say is what I mean. I don't self-censor. I'm not objective about Israel. I believe in a two-state solution. I really do. I believe what's done is done. Every country in the world came about through bloodshed and one country planting a bloody flag or one government. So look, it's too complicated to get into. I would believe in a two-state solution with, pre-67 borders. I don't like the governments of Israel and the recent governments. I don't like them. I don't like the new policies of Netanyahu around identification and stuff like that. But look, I'm not objective. I don't pretend to be. Of course, I'd like to travel in Israel and travel in the occupied, but I don't reckon I'd be welcome.
But this is all political.
You could swing it for me.
It's well.
Too political.
Well, no, I don't think. You're very political. It's not racism. It's just political.
It's political. Yeah.
We don't like the politics of. No. My knowledge of Israel goes. I've got family there. I've got friends there. The last time I went, or many, I might have been for years, and I remember being on this gorgeous beach. It was getting late, and I went to stay, and I slept on the beach.
Did you?
When I woke up in the morning, there was all these other people there, and they'd made a bonfire and were fishing. And I woke up to this girl giving me a plate of fish that had just caught up to sleep. So for me, it was just a holiday place. It's family, friends. To be honest with you, I don't actually even understand the politics of Israel, which is quite shameful, I suppose.
It's not shameful, really. Most Jewish people I meet, even Jewish people that would come on the program to talk about something else. I mean, I would speak to academics from America on health, but they'd be Jewish, and they would tell me privately, Richie, I don't really know what's going on, and one way or the other, I don't have any. I try and avoid it. Most people do, and I totally respect.
Jews and Israel are not necessarily the same thing.
Of course, yeah.
I am English, and my allegiance to Israel goes as far as I've got family and friends there. And I've also got some Palestinian friends. To me, you talk money, you talk business. Creed disappears. So.
Doesn't it? And again, you're back to, and it's very important. You're back to business. How much has been lost? Not through Christians or Jews, and not even through religion. How much has been lost through identity politics? How many people have ripped up contracts, or how many people have walked off or walked away from business deals over opinions or ideas that have got nothing to do with the core business itself? It must be becoming more prevalent. You haven't, of course, no.
But I don't really know. Again, I don't deal big business and small business. It's nothing to do with the person. It's to do with the business. And
can I ask you a question? This is your podcast, but is that something that you think might occur going forward? Because we're moving into an area now where people are becoming more aware of things that didn't matter previously. Previously, it didn't matter what people thought about. Their thoughts and their politics were their own business. But somebody wants it to be everybody's business these days. And I wonder, will that have an impact on businesses going forward? In terms of people won't work with people or sign contracts with people because, of their opinions on the trans, thing that's going on at the moment or anything. I find that fascinating. I think that's a big challenge for business, going forward.
You're probably right. But my talking empirically, my experiences are none. I've not come across much racism, much anti-Semitism.
Yeah.
Some silly comments, silly jokes, but that's just a nonsense. It's not. I don't take anything personal. But no, I find, and I've always found that you can deal with anybody if there's a deal going.
Yeah.
Deal. It's. And I'm sure it goes to bigger business. I'm sure politics can be people lower down the level, or people that have set the business up purely to channel monies.
Yes.
It's just something so alien to me. I can't add to this conversation.
No, but you are adding to it. It's fascinating what you're saying. Yeah. It sounds like you're not old by any stretch of the imagination. Of course you're not. You're experienced. You're experienced, but you're not old. No, but I think there is a generation of businessmen and women coming behind us, and they seem to be very concerned about the moral values of their peers. Maybe to the detriment of their business. And I find that fascinating.
I see what you're saying. The way I'm interpreting that is they don't want to buy produce, or they don't want to buy products from countries or firms that are not acting.
But it goes beyond that. It might be that it might be a local level. You might have a firm. You might have a firm of accountants. You might have a firm of lawyers, and there might be a business to be done between them. And one of the lawyers might say that, well, one of the accountants, he's he's very much he's a nationalist, or he said something negative about Black Lives Matter on Twitter or whatever. Maybe we should be very careful about doing business with him. That's a big challenge, I think, for business going forward.
Yeah.
We were always able to do business with people and see them on a one-to-one level or on an organization level and get on with them. And we didn't care about what they thought about Margaret Thatcher or what they thought about the miners. We didn't care.
Right.
But these days, it seems that they are concerning themselves with stuff like this. And I have younger cousins and family, and they're finding it very strange, traversing this new kind of landscape where...
But are we coming back, Richie, to what we said at the beginning, where you've got to be careful who you do mix with?
Yeah.
So I suppose, I mean, if I was dealing with someone that was, I don't know, some extreme, someone with extreme views, and they want to bring back the Nazis, or I possibly would step aside and not deal with them.
Understandably, absolutely.
So, and the other side of that is this trend in leaving reviews on people.
Yeah.
That, you can't always believe reviews. People, it's a revenge tactic, or
isn't it?
It's to pull people down. And I suppose as people become more conscious of people's political or personal beliefs, they might be used to be manipulated against them. So I suppose we've all got to make our own decisions.
No, it's brilliant what you said there. You made a brilliant distinction, because if you've got a guy on there saying, if you've got a guy, I couldn't do business with a guy. Or take advertising money from a guy who blamed blacks or blamed Muslims or blamed Jews for the ills of the world, said the Holocaust didn't happen. I just wouldn't take his money. I'm not going to go away thinking the guy should be exiled off to, I don't know, to outer Mongolia. I mean, but I'm not going to do business with him. But I think what we're seeing today on much lesser important social issues, people are not doing business with one another. And I know of it, I can't get into it with you today, but I know of somebody who lost out on some business with a firm. It would have been a lucrative bit of business, and eventually pulled the plug on it because the people he was doing business with, well, they were Catholics, and they have strong opinions on, anti-abortion and stuff like that. Right. And I said to my mate, so you lost out, you wouldn't do the deal. And he's much younger now. And he said, yeah, I can't be doing business with. I said, this is not Holocaust denying. Yeah. This is not, saying that blacks are stupid and are worthless. This is somebody who's got a deeply held personal belief, a religious belief. I said, but this is, and that's what I meant really. It wasn't the bigger stuff, it's the smaller stuff. And I'm going to watch that with binoculars over the next few years, how young businessmen and women operate in that world, because it is going to be a big challenge, I think,
Yeah, no, I see where you're coming from now. I think because I'm a bit insular dealing with, like I say, smaller businesses that really don't care about this type of
which thing. Is marvellous, and I hope they always will not care about that sort of stuff.
I'm somewhere else now, and I'm going to be scared of doing any more. and go and find a beach, but not in Israel.
That was some story, by the way. There's a great story about waking up on the beach and being handed a fish in these times of staycations and don't travel. Oh God, yeah.
I was in my 20s, so it was just a story from the past there. So.
Brilliant though. No, listen. In the future, I'd love to. When you talk about places, whether it be the United States, whether it be the heartlands, the deep south, whether you talk about Israel, it'd be nice to have some experience of a place.
Well,
while you're mouthing off about it, So
we can get our backpacks.
Why not go to a kibbutz?
Disappear over. Well, not a kibbutz. They're horrible.
You didn't do the kibbutz, no. You never did that.
I went on one for a few days, and they worked hard. And I remember going to this big place, with loads and loads of chickens, and I had this seed. I was just spreading it around, and the little shits come over and they bite. I think we should eat chicken.
just on that experience alone.
Yeah, horrible little thing, but that was my experience.
You couldn't write stuff like that, could you? Those experiences.
Yeah, but we should get our backpack, and we should go around Israel, and we should go around arguing with every Israeli we ever meet, because you can argue with Israelis. They scream and shout at you, but nobody sort of attacks you. So we should do that. But in the meantime, I've really enjoyed this show.
I have too. Thanks for inviting me.
I think it's been a lot of fun, and I want to do more with you. And I don't really know how to end it, so I'm just going to say thank you, and I'll speak to you soon.
You're a gent, Stephen. Thanks for your time. Cheers.